Absolutely, yes. I mean, it is a failure in one way. It's a failure of 10 years of mismanagement by Chansiri, and that's the reality.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of All Wednesday. This week we've got a very special guest, someone who has done a lot of work over the last weeks, months. Clive Betts, thank you so much for all the work you've done, and thank you for joining us tonight. I imagine you had a decent sleep this weekend after all that had gone off.
Well, a decent sleep and probably a decent couple of pints of beer as well to celebrate. So, yeah, I think a lot of Wednesday nights we're doing that this weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just on that, can you tell us sort of what the last bit of time has been like for you? Because obviously you're, it's not just business for you, is it? It's not just from a work perspective. This is a club that's close to you as well.
Yes, I first went to a Wednesday game and I got it etched in my memory. The 15th of March, 1958. Went there, and like many people, I went there with my father, with his father for a brief time, my cousin, my uncle. It's family. And, we talk as a family about Wednesday because we are Wednesday. And I think that's true of so many people in the city. I know the other side of the city, United Alex will have the same family connections, but those clubs are so important to our community. So yeah, it's a passion for me. Home and away Saturdays and sometimes midweek when I can get away. So yeah, I've had to do it as a job. I had to want to do it as a job in the last few months, but also as a passionate and committed Wednesday out as well.
Yeah, I mean, what sort of, I imagine overwhelming feelings of relief when it finally happened and it became apparent that, I mean, it's strange, isn't it? Because administration isn't something to be celebrated. It's not in normal circumstances. It's a very worrying situation to be in. Obviously, people are a lot of
Yeah.
concerned about jobs and things like that. But in a strange way, for Sheffield Wednesday now, it is seen as this, I suppose, first step back to normality.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it is a failure in one way. It's a failure of 10 years of mismanagement by Chansiri, and that's the reality. But yes, now he's gone. It gives us hope and the possibility of planning a much better future because the club's strength has shone throughout this, hasn't it? Its fan base, and great credit to the supporters trust and other groups who've really mobilised the boycotts. I mean, what club could have done such an effective boycott on a Wednesday night against Middlesbrough? And 2 days later, queuing round the block from the club shop, £500,000 handed over in a short period of time because fans determined to show their support for a new regime. That's absolutely fantastic. And yes, so yeah, relief. And indeed, it was interesting. Rick Parry, the chair of the EFL, sent me a text today and said, yeah, it is strange. Exactly that. Normally, administration is met with despair by those involved. On this occasion, it's met with glee and hope for the future.
Yeah, I think it's this whole situation um, has been it's shone a real light on Sheffield Wednesday fans, hasn't it? I mean, obviously we're maybe in a slightly biased situation here, but
Yeah.
they have really shone through in what has been a very very dark time.
There has, and they stuck together. And I've met some absolutely brilliant people in the Supporters Trust. They've done the analysis of Chansiri's financial holdings and the inadequacy of them, how he hasn't really got any money. They've taken all that apart and shown it. They've questioned the EFL about what can be done and how it can be done. Indeed, only today we've had another meeting with the EFL and the administrator and the Supporters Trust all trying to work together to shape the future. So great credit to the supporters trust in mobilising groups like 1867 who've come on and helped in the boycotts and the protests. The Armed Forces Group, the London Owls who organised the protest at the Thai embassy. The women's group have been on a couple of calls as well. So lots of different aspects of the supporters who really mobilised and come together. Absolutely fantastic. And I think back to that first a game at Leicester, 5 minutes, nobody walked in the ground, and everybody stood by it. I mean, just so effective, but
Mm.
so united in what was being done. Yeah, it's great. I've been just so proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely, and with regards to the administrators there, you mentioned them. You've had meetings with them. I'm sure you've been chatting to them for a lot longer than what's been publicly out there. But the response to them, not just their presence, but the way that they have worked with the club, the statements that have been put out. Obviously, working with the Sheffield Wednesday media team. How pleased are you with the way that things have gone over the last few days since it all became official?
Well, I certainly had a bit of dealings with them last week. I mean, there were the issues about whether Chansiri was going to sign the papers for quite a bit of time, and that would have got quite complicated and difficult because the alternative was HMRC serving a winding up order, which probably would have taken longer, could have been challenged, could have got to the court. So, yeah, I mean, it was really, I think they've been really open and good in their communications. Now they're saying quite, that they will be talking to the supporters group, supporters trust throughout this process because in the end, nobody wants to see a new owner appointed whose attitude is, to hell with the fans. I'm going to run the club the way I want. I think we've had enough of that.
Yeah, I was going to say we've been there, haven't we? We don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Just on that, I did ask some fans for some questions, and one of the things that someone did ask was what influence you've been able to have in all of this, especially towards the I suppose the business end of it all. And you mentioned the winding up order there. Were you in contact with HMRC and sort of what was going on there?
Yes, I was. I was pushing HMRC initially to get them to take some action because it seemed incredible to me that we all have to pay our taxes and the taxman comes and demands it if we don't. And yet, Jansiri apparently was owing £1 million and nothing which was happening. Now, yes, I did ask that question and I was told that action would be taken. But then the possibility of administration came and so I probably was saying to the taxman at that point through helpful sources, let's put it that way, in government, that it might be better if they just delayed for a little while because administration was a cleaner way forward. And I think the administration then worked very hard to persuade Chansiri, who was, I think, from their own admission, a rather difficult man to deal with. But I think we've all had experience of that, haven't we?
Yeah, difficult is yeah, correct.
I've been polite, I think, in my words.
And just Clive, with regards to that, I mean, how much of how many dealings, I suppose, have you had with John Siri, especially of late? You said there about him. There was a possibility that he wasn't going to sign those papers. Did you have anything, sort of any direct contact with him to try and get things pushed over the line?
No, you probably be aware that the MPs wrote to him a couple of months ago and said, "Look, this isn't going well, is it? Can we have a meeting with you?" And the answer came back, "Who are these people? What's it got to do with them?" So I think that was a fairly dismissive response from him, and that's as far as we ever got. Now, the only communication he's tried to make with anybody political, out of the blue last Monday, he suddenly got in touch with the mayor and said, "Can I talk to you?" Now, okay, I mean, the mayor being the mayor is in the end responsible for all the people in South Yorkshire. He had a conversation, and I think without going into details and breaching confidentiality, I think Mr. Chansiri's ideas of what the mayor could do, including stopping the taxman pursuing him, were probably a little far removed from reality. But perhaps in Thailand, that's how it works. A
Yeah.
senior business person phones the local mayor up, and somehow the taxman decides he doesn't want his money anymore. But it doesn't happen in this country like that, and I think that was pretty well established fairly quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Have any of you had a chance to tell Chancery what it's got to do with you? Now it's all done.
Well, I think that's happened now, isn't it? I mean, I think we ought to start thinking now just about the damage he's done because that's a legacy still behind, isn't it? That he's left behind. We can see the state of the ground. The North Stand was just one example. And I still think it's disgraceful in this day and age when I see women supporters on the COP having to leave the game 5 minutes before half time because there aren't enough toilets for them to get one without having to queue. I mean, this is just awful, the way that fans are treated in this way. We know the training facilities are third rate. I wouldn't say second rate, they're third rate. We've finally got a bit of work on the pitch, but the rest of the facilities, I'm told, isn't even hot water a lot of the time for the coaches and the other members of staff. I mean, this is just antiquated facilities. And his answer always was, I know he said it to previous managers like Darren Moore, oh, leave it. When we get in the Premier League, I'll spend money on this. Well, it was just wishful thinking. People have said to me, Joe, oh, look, he's done a lot for the club, all the money he's put in. Well, actually, he's wasted a lot of his money. If you look where we are now and where we were when he took over, we've gone backwards. He may have spent money, he has, but he's wasted it because he had no long term plan. He had no
Yeah.
plan to rebuild the academy, to bring people in, to have a proper recruitment strategy, to have a management structure in the club, raise more commercial money, all those things that clubs like Brentford and Brighton have done over a same period of time. He's had no plan. He just put money in on a drip by drip basis and wasted it.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I think it's one of the saddest things about the whole debacle really is that it's not like money hasn't been spent; it has just been spent continuously badly. And I think you look at the legacy of all of it. Well, I say legacy. There isn't one, and that's ultimately the problem.
Yeah.
That the situation is that Sheffield Wednesday have a slightly better pitch and a big scoreboard, and aside from that, there's not really much else changed.
No, and I remember Paul Aldridge, who I spoke to, after Milan had left, and tribute to Milan, a nice tribute at the game to him the other day because he obviously rescued us from administration. That's the irony when he took over and left a clean bill of health for Chansiri to take over, and Paul Aldridge, who was his chief exec, carried on with Chansiri for a time. I remember Paul telling me, "I can't work with this man. He will not listen to anything anybody says." And
Mm,
just go through all the people who've tried to work with him at various times. Everybody ended up leaving after a short period of time. He was impossible to deal with. He didn't know
yeah.
anything about football, but he wouldn't listen to anyone who did.
Yeah, yeah, which is never a good mix.
No,
With obviously there's a lot to happen before a new owner is
yeah.
found, and there's a lot that is going on behind the scenes. But with the potential of a new owner on the horizon, do you foresee a need for I suppose the regulator to be actively involved in the next stages? I know that they've not technically been switched on yet.
Sorry, I missed that, Joe. The line went a bit
So
blurred.
I was just saying, with the regulator coming in, do you think they need to be actively involved in the next stages, or like, I mean, I know they're not switched on yet, so I presume they're
Well,
very
they're
limited.
there. And David Cogan gave me a call yesterday. I had a long chat with him. He's kept in touch right the way through. To be fair to him, yeah, I think he's a really good guy because he's interested in football and making sure the fans get a proper deal from this. Now, no, he isn't. I mean, the EFL will do the approval of fit and proper person test. They will have oversight, and the administrators working with the EFL. But I asked a question today. We had a meeting with the Supporters Trust and the FL and the FSA were there and the administrator. And it's accepted that the regulator and the FL are working together because
Yeah,
there will be a transfer at some point of responsibilities. And what will be absolutely stupid, of course, is if the FL said these owners are okay by us, and a few months later the regulator said, well, actually, they don't meet our tests. So
mm,
there's got to be some joined up approach. I think that people are being sensible. There isn't a competition of oh, it's my job, no, it's your job. Get off my turf, keep away. People are working together in a constructive way, and I think the heart of this, and I've said it today, I'm going to say it again in Parliament in the next few days. Whoever becomes the new owner, whatever process has gone through, the right for fans to be involved in our club is absolutely paramount. The lesson that we've learned is the importance of fans. That's what anybody new owner's buying. It's buying the fan base and the
mhm,
support. So the representatives of fans have got to be involved in the running of the club. Now, no one's going to say you sit down and decide which centre forward we're going to buy. It doesn't work like that. But looking at a proper business plan for the club and what the weaknesses are, what needs putting right, even down to things like ticket prices and how we should be developing them, what concessions we all offer for young people. We've got to encourage to come into the club. They're all things I think the fans have a right to have a voice about. In the end,
yeah.
the owner will make a decision, but they've got to be fan engagement. So, yeah, that's going to be challenged. And I'm sure the EFL are aware of that and the regulator is aware of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually one of the questions that was asked as well. I mean, I know you've touched on it there, but What other lessons do you think can be learned by this whole mess? And I suppose not just from a Wednesday perspective, but for future clubs going forward.
Well, I think certainly about involvement from fans and listening to fans, having a proper engagement. There isn't Wednesday's engagement panel where the chairman picked who came and got rid of them if he didn't like them. That's not acceptable. So that's one lesson. Second lesson is you've got to have a management structure and a proper board of directors. You can't have one person sat in Thailand running a major football club. It doesn't work. It never will work. It can't work. So directors are there to take collective decisions. And if some one individual, even the owner, if he owns the club totally, someone to say, "Wait a minute, that's not right. We need to have another think about that. We're not doing that properly." And a proper chief executive who runs the club, proper the commercial arrangement, so we bring more money into the club that way. Wednesday over the years, even before Chansiri, we're not bringing money in terms of commercial activities which match the amount that fans were paying on the gate. That just hasn't happened as a club. So we've got to get those things absolutely right. And I think we learn lessons about that and a proper recruitment strategy. That's the other lesson. I say I come back to Brighton. We played them in that playoff final only 10 years ago. Look where they are now. And I've been to Brighton's training ground. I've looked at how they've brought players in, grown them, sold them on for real money, and invested it. So a long-term plan. So I think that's another real lesson to be learned, and that outline of that can be shared with the fans, and the fans can have an input into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think yeah, you're right. There's got to be like a proper process in place. You can't just be making decisions at the beck and call of one individual, and that's everything goes.
Yeah.
Um, just with regard to the next step, obviously the administrators have been speaking, saying that there's building up interest. I think that was it was always going to be the case. I think there's probably
Yeah.
been quite a few interested parties who've been waiting in the wings for this to happen. How confident are you that this is going to be rectified and sorted relatively soon?
Well, I think that there is a rule in the FL that there's got to be a 28-day period while expressions of interest are allowed to come forward. That isn't an absolutely cast iron rule. It can be done quicker, but the reason for the rule is explained to us today on the call. Is in the past there have been owners who have done sweetheart deals for administration, put their club into administration, and 2 days later, they've got to buy it. So it's all been done for reasons of just getting rid of the club's debt. So to stop that, they stopped that sort of sweetheart administration.
Mhm.
So that will be a bit of time. I think we're probably looking at December by the time we get a new owner. It could be quicker. Obviously, I hope there's an opportunity, and I think there will be, for the supporters trust and other key fan groups to have their say. And we're not going to go to a referendum of all Wednesday supporters and say which ones you like, but I'm sure they'll be asking questions about long-term plans for supporter engagement and a long-term plan to build the club up from the bottom. No one expects us to spend, £500,000 on some player or two players and go charging forward to the Premier League overnight. So it's got to be a sensible long-term plan with which will have rocky roads to it. We'll have failures as well as successes, but hopefully moving forward, a plan to do work on the ground to improve the training facilities, put a recruitment policy in place. So they're all issues that need to be explored with any prospective owner. So I think it's a good thing that we're not going to simply confirm a deal in a few days to give everyone concerned an opportunity to explore, to discuss, and to probe what any investors' intentions are.
Yeah, we certainly don't need anything rushed at this point, do we?
We don't.
This is maybe maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. As of your understanding of the situation, obviously the points deduction for the administration is already there. There's potential
Yeah.
further points deductions to come in the future. Um, there's embargoes. There's the transfer fee restriction. Do you know if there is any chance that things are, I suppose, Wednesday are given a helping hand in terms of a new owner coming in? Because obviously, uh, having all that in place does make a sale a little bit more difficult.
It does. I don't think I think the administration is at 12 points. I don't think that's negotiable by
Yeah, no,
anybody.
that's sticking
Um,
around
the
regardless.
rest of it, I think you can appeal, and there can be discussions. And obviously, it would be the new owner that did that. The important thing was explained to us today is to pay off the football creditors. The players, the staff, other clubs, the FL, any football-related debts have got to be paid off. And then I think there's a rule that you've got to pay off 25% of other creditors, or 35% if you do a payment plan with them. That's important because if you don't do that, you could get into another business of further points deductions, and they could come in the following season. Now, I think that the question I asked today was, can we have some assurance that the EFL understand that what we need with any points deductions, we need them doing this year, this season, and then any owner coming in knows precisely what they're going to be faced with next season. And the
Yeah,
last thing we want is to go down, which we probably will go down with the points deduction. Let's be honest. I mean, Henrik Pedersen's doing miracles in my view with the squad he's got, but we probably will go down. The last thing we want is to go down with a further points deduction next season. So that's what we've
yeah,
got to stop, and that's what hopefully the administrator we're working with a new owner. The new owner can stop that by putting the money in, but the new owner's got to be certain if he puts the money in, then that points deduction isn't going to happen next season.
yeah. Because, like you say, even if it's the potential points deduction, it's still something floating around, isn't it? The
Yeah.
uncertainty, and I think Sheffield Wednesday fans and everyone related to this football club have had enough uncertainty for
We,
their
we,
life.
we have, and I think we could all live with. All right, we've got the points deduction. It's Chansiri's mess, but at least we're over the mess now, and we can move forward to next season with a completely clean slate, and hopefully, removal gradually of the transfer restrictions, because that's the other thing. Points deduction is one thing. Transfer restrictions. I mean, I don't know how much the new owner may want to spend on bringing new players in. Eventually, that's something we'd hope for, but certainly bringing in some very good quality loan players would be. I don't know, Henrik Pedersen had got them lined up.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a conversation where the
yeah,
EFL asked Chansiri to indicate he would pay the wages of the loan players, and he wouldn't even do that. I mean,
yeah,
that's the situation Henrik Pedersen's been left in, and I know probably. I mean, it's not best for the MPs to start picking football managers and deciding who should be manager and who shouldn't be. But I think Henrik Pedersen's got an enormous amount of goodwill amongst Wednesday supporters, and I think most people would like to see him given a chance in a club with a proper environment and a proper owner.
yeah. No, I could not agree more. And on that happy note, I think we're done. Clive, thank you so much for
Right.
all the work you've put in. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah,
And here's to a brighter future for Sheffield Wednesday.
absolutely. And we'll keep on pushing for that collectively together. Okay. Cheers.